Here we go. Questions that Stefania has asked me to give a response to with reference to Sky on Stage and XRW. Got 4 questions about me first. I started in 1979 and I have over 35,000 jumps. Formation skydiving was my first passion. I'm still pretty heavily involved in that. Canopy piloting, XRW, just started wingsuiting, like to free fly. It's all pretty good actually. And there's so many different areas to get involved in this sport. Been national champion since 1985 until 2020 for the UK, and then 7 years for Italy in between. I'm a Flight 1 coach, I'm a formation skydiving coach, I do tunnel coaching, and I do some load organizing during the summer, and I have a sideline in trying to uncover sustainable initiatives for skydiving so that we actually have a future for our sport when we can't rely on fossil fuels anymore. Yeah, good question, because a lot of people have quit, but I keep seeing new possibilities within the sport, either for myself or for others, and XRW is a really great environment to explore that in because there is no rule book about it yet, and I like that. It's open-ended, it's a new page, it's a new discipline. The equipment is starting to catch up with what we have in our minds as well. And so yeah, that keeps me pretty passionate about the sport. The people too, I love teaching, I really enjoy teaching, and I think the fact that I'm learning always every day as well, making my own set of mistakes every day, I don't feel like I've arrived anywhere. I feel like it's a continual process. Oh, my mum and dad brought me into the sport. I grew up on the drop zone from the age of about 8 or 9. And what keeps me in it, those things I just spoke about, the continual pushing of my own performance and the teaching. It's a great environment to live and work in. We used to do relative work, which is what formation skydiving was called, and that was when we all got together in freefall and held hands and made formations. XRW means extreme relative work, so we're getting together a wingsuiter, so that's someone flying a wingsuit at freefall speeds with a modern canopy and a pilot. And so we're mixing 2 very different elements of the sport. And it's pretty exciting from the participant standpoint, and it's also visually exciting because even as a non-skydiver you can see that you have someone under a parachute flying at the same speed as someone in freefall. It's been going off and on for about 15-20 years at a very basic level. So what you've got now is you have someone on a parachute that has a certain range, a parameter. They can fly at a certain speed, vertically and horizontally. And then you have a wingsuiter that has another range. They can fly at certain speeds and vertically and horizontally. And we have a combined area. It's like a Venn diagram. We have a combined section where we can interact together. And in the beginning, it was a very fine range, a very small range. It felt like the wingsuiters could barely keep up with us and that we could barely keep up with them. The way the equipment has been developing now is there's a much greater range. And this moves on to the next question that you asked. So I'm just going to move on to that now. So the next question was, so what do we need for XRW jumps nowadays? Well, as I said, back in the day, we were just kind of scraping the surface with each player just kind of meeting up at the edge of their performance envelope. Nowadays, with the new wingsuits and new canopies, we have a much greater range. We can fly together comfortably to the point where we can actually start to move and free fly and create some free fly routines together. And that's only possible with current technology, and it's going to get better as well, I'm assuming. Well, for the wingsuiter and the canopy pilot, you need to be at the top of your game. You need to have all your basics squared away. You need to be a good skydiver first. You need to have solid skydiving skills in free fall and under canopy. And then when you decide to either do the wingsuit section or the canopy section, you have to start to specialize. The wingsuits that people are using to do XRW are high performing wingsuits. They can be on the edge of stability, especially for opening. So you have to be a proficient wingsuit pilot. You have to be very good for yourself, but also you have to be aware of where you can fly relative to the canopy, because you don't want to fly in front of them, you don't want to touch the lines. And then from the canopy pilot side of it, you have to be jumping parachutes that are loaded at 3.5 as a wing loading. So to give you an idea, when someone first starts skydiving, they're loading their parachutes at 1.1 pounds or less than 1 pound per square foot. We are currently loading our canopies at 3.5 pounds per square foot, and we're jumping parachutes that are very rigid, sensitive wings. And so until you've got at least a couple of 3,000 jumps, you're not even thinking about jumping a parachute like that. And you would have to prove your ability in all different kinds of wings before a manufacturer is even going to hand you one of those parachutes. They're very finely tuned. They take a little bit of maintenance on the opening and also during the flight. And then don't forget, you actually have to land that parachute as well at the end of it. Other challenges and safety issues, we have very clear briefings for the exit, for the flight, for the break-off, and yeah, good idea of the risks involved before anyone gets to that level. It's that feeling of doing something that wasn't possible not so long ago. Flying under a canopy with someone next to you who's in free fall. And then playing with that. And actually now, and this goes on to the next question, is where do I visualize XRW and its evolution going in the future? It's an unwritten book. We're now starting to take these XRW formations, proximity flying close to the mountain. We're actually doing free fly routines where we're moving around each other the same way that two people would in free fall. And we can create lines that you won't see in any other discipline because of the flight characteristics of the wingsuit and the canopies. I can tell you where I'd like it to go in the next week or two, but I'm really hoping we get to see a lot of different directions that we can take it and a lot of different things that we can do with it. Well, I would like to see that only as one part of the competition, I'll be honest. Yes, we can go out and we can fly close together, we can hold hands, we can hold the other hand, the wingsuit pilot can be on their bellies, they can be inverted, but to me that's the tiniest introduction to XRW. What we're currently doing is, as I said before, we're moving around each other, we're flying free fly lines and more kind of freestyle stuff. So I would like to see 1 or 2 jumps only, maybe 1 jump with showing the points, and then a couple of jumps showing a free fly routine, something between the canopy pilot and the wingsuiter, with an outside wingsuiter filming to get some creativity and to see some different lines. And I feel like this will push XRW to the next phase just by doing the single grips. It's something that's already been going on for a few years, and it's not a massive challenge anymore. It's fun, and we can get some real fast changes and grips and moves and points, but it's the creative phase, the free fly phase that I really want to explore with it. So I'd like to have an objective side of it with the points, but then a subjective side of it with the creativity. The points would be pretty easy. You would have a series of moves on the point side of it, and it was just how many times the team could cleanly go through that routine, and can they demonstrate it to the camera flyer as well. For sure, learn how to fly your parachute as well as you can. Whatever parachute you are currently on, learn how to get the absolute best from the parachute. Get some coaching, and you got to be in love with flying your canopy, because you're going to be spending a lot of time underneath it, and you're going to want to really extract everything you can from each canopy size. The biggest tip is do not downsize too soon. If you do, you'll miss the important learning stages that you're going to need to draw on later. Very similar to if you want to drive Formula One cars, do not skimp on the time you spend on smaller models, on the go-karts, on the smaller cars with smaller engines, because if you do that, you are not going to be ready when it's time to get into that Formula One car. Definitely keeping fit, playing in the water, swimming, cycling, running, yoga. They all put my body in a much better position to be able to skydive, and vice versa. I think skydiving gives me a reason to do other sports, to stay fit for it, but also because it's something that I do every day. I skydive every day, and I've done it for 43 years. It keeps me engaged in other forms of creativity, and it keeps me a student. It gives me a path of lifelong learning. So by taking other sports up, instead of relaxing and going, yeah, I've done skydiving for 43 years and I'm really good at it, it makes me see that I'm a student all the time if I keep on doing other sports. But also within the skydiving world, doing other disciplines helps keep me on that path of lifelong learning. I like to draw. Yeah, I think I like to write. So yeah, creativity is quite a big part of what I do. I'm very excited as to where this is going to go as a competition. The Sky on Stage is wonderful. I'm really glad that you've included XRW in it. Can't wait to see what we're going to do with this new discipline. And if you'd like to know more about Pete or my schedule, you can follow me on Instagram at XLPete, XLPETE, or on Facebook, Pete Allum. And you can look at the flight1.com calendar to see what kind of canopy coaching and where I'm doing. Cool, thanks.